And the Reverend Kimberly Murphy of the Quincy Point Congregational Church is joining us via teleconference, as this is the new norm right now for communicating, to chat about the church and their online worship services. So, Reverend, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Our pleasure. Can you tell us a little bit about what Quincy Point Congregational is doing in this new age of coronavirus in order to continue to get your message out there to your congregation?
Well, we've been very fortunate that we have a lot of people connected to our church that are pretty savvy with technology and are able to video and to edit our services and then link them to Facebook and Instagram and our website. So things that I have absolutely no idea how to do. Thankfully, other people do. And it's been helpful to get our message out and to let people know that we're still here. People are appreciating what all of our churches are trying to do to remain connected to our congregants and perhaps send a message out there that, this too shall pass. And even though things are, this is an extraordinary time, and we don't know exactly how this will end or when it will end, but through this we can become stronger in our relationships to one another and help each other through.
So how is it actually working? Are you actually going into the church by yourself and doing a service and then putting that on the social media, or are you doing it from home, or how's that working?
We're doing it from the church. I know that there's some pastors are doing it from home, but we feel that it's important to show that our church is still here and vibrant, and we are maintaining social distance, so we do remain more than 6 feet away from each other. And there are only a couple of people that are in the sanctuary with me. Jonathan Roberts, who is our accompanist, and he's the videographer because he, by default, because he has the equipment. And Gene Lucas, who is our music director, who comes in and sings and offers music. And then we invite people from our congregation or our music folk to video themselves at home, and again through the magic of technology can splice that in to the service. We're using photographs in the service itself to offer a visual of what we're offering as a service. Some of the photographs I've taken and some other people in our congregation have taken.
Are you trying to stick to the same schedule, the same routine as before, or is it kind of as you're able?
We are following the lectionary, which is the series of readings that we do follow, particularly since this is the season of Lent. Lent seems to be lending itself to this time of introspection and prayer. And so we're finding that the readings are helpful in that they speak to where people are in their sense of isolation and loneliness.
Yeah, have your sermons taken on a different twist since this pandemic started? And are you focusing on that or other messages?
Focusing on that, again, the readings do lend themselves to where we are right now, which is good. And it helps us to connect to our ancestors who have also gone through extraordinary times and have made it through. And it just helps us to remember that even during the times of walking through the valley, that God is still with us.
Are you able to still do, pastoral work as well, visitations or things of that nature?
That has taken on a very different look.
Yeah.
We do a lot by texting, emailing. We have been able to do a lot by Zoom. That helps some of our people connected, but not everyone. Not everyone is technology savvy, and not a lot of people have the equipment. So we set up a buddy system where members of the congregation get in touch by phone with other members of the congregation, just to make sure that they know that we're here and that we care and that we want to help in any way that we can. So we're doing our best to make sure that everyone is connected with and no one feels excluded or left out.
Yeah. Are you able to kind of gauge how you're doing with that? Are folks giving you feedback to kind of say, this is great, let's keep it up, or can we do something differently?
Most people are appreciative of the efforts that everyone has been making to connect with everyone. So I'm sure that people would love more, but at this time we just cannot offer that. And as you know, congregations are just so used to being with one another that the social distance, especially at first, seemed a little extraordinary. And I think some people perhaps thought that those practicing that were overreacting, but as now this pandemic unfolds, we're realizing that that is essential, even as it is difficult to do.
Right. Are you still able as a church to reach out to, say, the homeless or other folks that are, on the margins of society to help them?
Where in Quincy, we're so fortunate to have agencies that are already doing that work. So instead of duplicating what they do, we're encouraging people to continue to give to places like Interfaith Social Services and QCAM and a lot of the other agencies that have those connections with people and are able to continue to reach out to their clients and people that are on the fringes. And I think we'll find more and more people as this continues. People who have lost their jobs will be looking for assistance. So those are the places that I would recommend that people contact and go to.
Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation also. Are you familiar with any other churches in the city that are doing this online worship as well?
Yes, most of the churches that we are in contact with, we have the Quincy Interfaith Network that we've partnered with, and most of those churches and the pastors are doing their best to stay connected. So Wollaston UCC, I think the Good Shepherd and Faith Lutheran churches are continuing. Those are the ones that I know of off the top of my head.
Okay, I know St. Chrysostom's Episcopal also up in Wollaston has a service available as well. This coming Sunday, is it not Palm Sunday this coming Sunday?
Palm Sunday.
Yeah. So can you give us a preview of your sermon yet, or is that still in the works?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm still recovering from yesterday. It will be Palm centered, but I we'll see how that. I have to do the readings and then think about it a little bit before I can write a sermon.
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure you're already thinking ahead to Easter and what you'll have to do. It probably will have to be kind of the same thing, it looks like right now.
It will be, and I'm glad that the president has extended the social distancing. I think that was smart in his part. We still don't know when this will crest, and I think we need to continue to practice that just so that we can continue to flatten that curve, as they say. So Easter will be virtual, which is going to be weird for so many people, including me. We look forward to being together on Easter Sunday, but this is going to be a new way of experiencing that for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that if you ever had to kind of minister during a time like this in your career.
Never.
Really? Yeah.
Never. I've had experiences when I was ministering in church out in Western Mass where we had the tornado and then we had an ice and snowstorm that impacted the community, but we weren't prevented from being together, only by the situation, the environment that prevented us, like the trees down and things like that.
Right.
But nothing that said that we couldn't gather with one another and be with one another. So this is definitely something that I've never experienced, and I think very few people have, unless they were back in 1918 and experienced it before.
Right. Yeah. I think that's why this is so hard, is because it's kind of invisible. With a snowstorm, it's the transportation, it's the infrastructure, it's the utilities. Those are the reasons. Here you can't see it, so it's much harder to grasp, I think, for folks.
I think you're right. We can prepare for a hurricane and a snowstorm, but how do you prepare for something you can't see and you don't know that you either have contracted or perhaps inadvertently given to someone else?
Yeah.
And you know that until it's almost too late, which makes it even more challenging and difficult.
Yeah, and I can't help but think how this is also kind of a true test of faith, which you really can't physically, tangibly see as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think you're right. This is a test of how well we can continue to be connected with one another in a time in which it's difficult to connect with one another, and rely on our faith to get us through and to help us get through this time. we're all grieving the loss of autonomy and schedules and one another and people and, positions and purpose and our jobs. So, and during this time of grief, we really do want to continue to maintain those connections and relationships with people as best as we can. And if we can do so through technology, by phone calls and other media and platforms, then we're glad that we have that.
Sure. Can I ask you, is there a specific small prayer that you might be able to offer right now in this time to encourage folks to lean on their faith?
I can certainly offer a prayer at this time. I don't have anything. I have a prayer that someone had written, but it's not short. It's a prayer for those during a time of COVID-19, but it's a little bit too long. But I can certainly offer a prayer to help people during this time if you'd like.
I think that'd be appropriate if you don't mind. Thank you.
No, not at all. God, during this time in which we are faced with so many different challenges and extraordinary circumstances, we are thrown out of our own routine and we find ourselves at odds, at sixes and sevens. We can't do what we want to do and go where we want to go, and we can't be with who we want to be. But during this time in which we are so careful to maintain distance, please don't keep your distance from us. Help us get through this time in supporting us through our sense of loneliness and loss and grief, and bolster our spirits so that we can go outside and enjoy the creation you have provided for us. And help us to continue to be kind and generous to one another and help others who are less fortunate than we are. So we offer this in your name and in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. That was beautiful. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Logistically, what's happening at Quincy Point Cong in terms of access to the church itself? What should folks know?
Well, right now, only essential personnel are allowed in the building, and I think that goes for a lot of our other churches. It's sad. A silent church is not something that we're used to at Quincy Point, right. But we have to do that. Also, because our church building is so large and we have a small team of people to clean it, we want to make sure that we're offering enough time for the virus, should it have been there, to die. And also to give our team enough time to clean and make sure that the areas and the spaces that had been in contact with a large number of people are cleaned. So at this time, only immediate staff and essential personnel are allowed to come in. And again, a silent church is a sad church, but we will get through this, and hopefully the church will be active and busy again soon.
Right. I know that every time I have reached out, you have people in the office working, so folks can certainly call or reach out online, right?
And that is true, yes. Our administrative staff is still present, and you can always email and connect through us with our Facebook page or website if you have a need or have a question.
Sure. Anything else you'd like to leave with folks today?
Just to hang in there as best as they can, and hopefully this weather, which doesn't add to anyone's spirits, spring is coming, and just the idea that we can sit outside and enjoy nature, I think, will bolster people's spirits. And that, again, when churches are able to come back together, we hope that everyone will be able to come and be with us in their various faith traditions. Passover is coming up as well. Right. And that's also a time of when people definitely want to gather together. So I'm not sure what virtual Passover will look like. And that will be very interesting and hopefully something that most people can do. But that's just hang in there and try to do the best that we can and reach out to people, and hopefully people will continue to reach out to everyone else.
Really appreciate your time, Reverend. Great to talk to you. Please reach out to us here at QATV. If we can be any further help, we'd be happy to do so.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. I really appreciate it, and hope you are well and stay safe as well.
Thank you. Same to you. Take care now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.